Hello, everybody. Welcome back to the Wednesday Wisecrack. This is episode 2 of our weekly podcast about Formula One and other racing and other content involving four tires. Guillermo, how you doing?
I'm all right. I'm feeling a bit sick, but I'm happy to be here talking on the podcast.
It's all good. We're persevering through hardship just to talk about
Yep.
cars, you know? First things first, we're going to talk about some Formula One news, our F1 news feed, and stories over the last week. Our main story is going to be F1 sprint qualifying, something brand new added to this season for 3 races. So far, they're planning on doing this at Silverstone, Monza, and they're yet to determine the next track. But basically, how the sprint qualifying weekend works is you're going to have practice 1 on Friday for 60 minutes like usual. But instead of practice 2 right after, you're going to have a qualifying. So the normal Q1, Q2, and Q3 format, which will set up the grid for the sprint qualifying session on Saturday. And then going to Saturday, we have practice 2 in the morning, and then we're going to have our sprint qualifying, which is an 100-kilometer race that sets the grid for Sunday's race. And then Sunday, you're going to have the standard procedure. You know, cars going fast. There's going to be a winner. There's going to be a loser. There's going to be some action. What do you think about this?
So, I read something online. Like, someone was complaining about what's the point of qualifying, or what's the point of practice 2 being after qualifying? Because after qualifying, aren't you in parc ferme? So you can't change your car. Yeah. So what's the purpose of practice 2, I guess, just besides making sure everything is working fine, you know?
That's a good point. I didn't really think about that. They're going to have to clarify that, I think. I haven't really seen anything about that. So, that's a good point. I've never thought about that.
Yeah, because when I didn't look at the schedule, I thought it was going to be, practice 1, practice 2, qualifying, sprint qualifying, and Grand Prix. But no, the qualifying and practice 2 are switched. I was like, oh, I guess that's interesting.
The way you just said would make more sense, in my opinion. But I
they
guess,
did it like this for a reason. So
they're not stupid. They're doing this for a reason. I'm not sure what that reason could be. That's a good point that you bring up. I do think, 2016 was the last time qualifying format changed. We had the aggregate time for the first 2 races, which was a goddamn disaster. It was so bad. There was no pole shootout in Q3. Everybody was complaining. So they eventually ended up scrapping it and going back to Q1, Q2, and Q3. Just the way we do it now. I think, personally, this could be exciting. This is something similar to what other motorsport types, type of different categories, what they do. It'd be cool to see Formula One cars trying this out.
Yeah. It just really depends what you want to define as qualifying. Because, is it really the same qualifying if you're racing for your position and not, just line up as how fast you are,
Yeah, that's a good point.
I guess it's just how you want to define qualifying and what that means, per position.
And also, I saw that the FIA is going to give teams an extra amounts of money if they happen to damage their cars during the sprint qualifying race. If they happen to spend more than their budget cap with those repairs, which is interesting. I mean,
yeah, because I was thinking about that. Because what if you do damage your car? That's just gonna be extra money that teams obviously don't want to deal with. As you saw, Mercedes said that George Russell was already put in a little bit of stress on their budget because he crashed into Bottas.
Yeah, that is a good point. Mercedes, they had $400 million to spend. Now it's only $140. So they really have to. A lot of the bigger teams have to really adjust to that. Mm-hmm. And also, I'm thinking that this sprint qualifying is going to be like a third race distance, pretty much. I think we could see some exciting racing on Sunday because of this, because drivers are going to know what lines to take when they're pushing the cars in the race. They're going to know like where they can overtake, where they can lay off a little bit to save tires, save fuel. I think this could make for better racing, maybe. I mean, we'll all have to see come Silverstone, but
Yeah, I can see that because it said the sprint qualifying is going to be 100 kilometers, and usually races are just above the 300 kilometer mark. So it will be about a third.
Yeah, I mean, this is definitely some of the most interesting news we've gotten in a long time. And
oh yeah.
Speaking of news, we are heading over to this week in Formula One, where we go through what people in the paddock and around the paddock have been saying, and we're going to analyze what they've said. So our first thing this week is Carlos Sainz says that he's still far from being the Carlos that drove for McLaren here at Ferrari. I do think Carlos Sainz's last race in Imola was a good showing for him, but I do think, I agree with him. I think he has the potential to be on pace with Leclerc at every race weekend. He just needs to, find it within himself, get more and more familiar and comfortable with the car that he's driving, the SF21. I think we could see a very, very good result at the end of the season for Carlos with this Ferrari. I don't know about a podium, but I don't see it being an outside chance, honestly.
Well, yeah, here, I'm just looking at the last race. Sainz finished behind Leclerc only 2 seconds, 1.5 seconds. And here I'm going to pull up qualifying. And Leclerc qualified 4th, while Sainz qualified 11th. So it seems like, he got comfortable with the car, but it's just hard to push it at the moment, which is understandable. Yeah. He's new to the Ferrari, build car and how it drives.
And also, how many times did he go off track in the race?
I did see him struggling a little bit.
He went off track like 3 times maybe.
Yeah. I thought it was a Ferrari, but then I saw Leclerc doing okay. I was like, okay, maybe it's just signs,
I think at one point his engineer told him he was driving too fast.
Oh,
which
yes.
Just funny.
I did hear that, yeah.
Telling his driver to slow down.
Yeah. It's like, what?
That's pretty funny. And then, but thinking about it more, I mean, the safety car kind of leveled everybody out. So it neutralized Carlos's offs a little bit. So I think that's probably one of the reasons he was able to finish, just behind Leclerc.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, and if Leclerc overtook Verstappen on the safety car restart.
Oh, yeah.
What do you think Leclerc could have gone to achieve in the race?
Well,
that would have been for the lead.
That would have been for the lead. Let me look at the results. I mean, okay, so let's think about this. If Hamilton was still behind, then that means Hamilton would have had to pass Norris, then Verstappen, then Leclerc, or if he would have ever caught up to Leclerc, because Verstappen just really flew away. Like, he was 22 seconds in front of Hamilton at the end of the race, and I don't know if Leclerc could have done that, personally.
Yeah, maybe. Well, I mean, his car is still technically a midfield car, so it would be like just him pushing as hard as he can, hoping the tires don't fall off for however many laps after the safety car restart. What was it, like half race distance, basically, from that red flag? Was it even a red flag? I don't even remember.
Yeah, there was a red flag.
Yeah, okay, so half race distance in a midfield Ferrari. That, I mean, don't get me wrong, it's way better than last year's Ferrari, but it's not anywhere near race wins at the moment. I still think he could have been on for a podium if he overtook Leclerc, but he didn't have any radio.
If Leclerc could, if Leclerc knew it wasn't a standing start and just passed Verstappen.
If like Jacques Clear was still yelling in his ears like overtake.
Yeah.
I mean, he would have absolutely sent it. He's not one to waste opportunities. And
Norris would have probably passed Verstappen as well.
Yeah, that's a good point. Norris was fast. Norris really proved himself last race, how fast he can be in qualifying and race trim. I mean, it's great to see young drivers like Leclerc, Verstappen, Norris, all doing so well at the top.
Yeah.
Battling the likes of Hamilton, who's just like the GOAT. The greatest of all time. Breaking every record in the process. If he gets pole position next race, it's his 100th pole. 100.
The one record he's struggling with is actually consecutive race wins. I'm not sure if you've seen that, but Formula One posted the consecutive race wins record, and he's like, here it is.
I think Vettel's got it with like 9 or something ridiculous in like 2013.
Yeah.
Vettel won 9 races in a row with the Red Bull. That's unbelievable.
That is pretty crazy.
That's insane.
All right, so what's next on the news list?
So, all right, we got Andrew Shovlin, who is I wish I knew his exact role in Mercedes. I think he's some sort of like technical engineer. He's on the pit wall with the team, and he says that he admits Mercedes is not the best at pit stops currently. Any sort of thoughts to this? I don't really know did we see a bad stop for Mercedes this year?
I mean, Mercedes, whenever Mercedes drops the ball, they drop it hard. Like we saw last year in Abu Dhabi,
or Bahrain with the tires.
Bahrain.
And
we
then
saw it in
2019
Germany when Hamilton just jumped into the pits, which it's understandable why they weren't ready, but they just took forever to get the tires, and it happens when Mercedes mess up. They mess up, as my dad likes to say.
That's a good saying. I mean, they are known for being the golden standard in F1 this last decade.
Perfect. That's why they win. They don't have these little mess ups that causes you to lose points or time. Like, they're reliable.
I saw something like about how many retirements each team has had in the turbo hybrid era. Mercedes was first. Second, I'm not really sure it was second, but I think the second place team had about 35 DNFs. Mercedes had like 10. Like, holy shit. They're just the consistency.
That's pretty much a whole season less of DNFs.
The consistency that they have is insane. Like Red Bull, like 2018, Daniel Ricciardo, DNF 7 of the 21 races. That's a 30-year season gone. Mm-hmm. Like you can't win the championship if you don't finish 33% of your races, unless God is driving the car or something.
Yeah.
I mean, so we will have to look out for Mercedes pit stops. Yeah, I mean, I don't remember anything this current season so far of anything going on. I don't even remember like a slowish pit stop, but I could be wrong.
Yeah, there wasn't really anything. I heard that there was some bad timing that Hamilton had to wait like an extra second in the pits because there was another car driving through, but that's not their fault.
Yeah, that's not their fault. All right, moving along. We have Andreas Seidel, the team principal of McLaren. He says McLaren is happy to have got through the first 2 races this season without any major incidents, especially since the cost cap introduction, which is a good point. I mean, McLaren, they're solidly in third place in the constructors. Lando Norris is third place in the drivers' championship. Daniel Ricciardo, I think, is 6th, which is a really good position for McLaren to be in. They weren't in any crazy crashes like Bottas and Russell or anything crazy that might have happened in the first race. So, I mean, props to them for keeping their noses clean.
Yeah, and keeping them not destroyed.
Yeah, I mean...
keeping as many front wings as possible.
That's true. Each front wing is what, $200,000?
Something like that.
Ridiculous. Like, how does that cost $200,000? I will never know. It's not my job to know, thankfully. But yeah, hopefully McLaren can keep their good form going through the rest of the season. Hopefully they can
Avoid incidents.
Yeah. Hopefully they can gain some Mercedes level consistency this season. That would definitely see them doing very well in the constructors. And our next point comes from our favorite driver, Valtteri Bottas. He said he's not expecting any one team to dominate all of the races this season like Red Bull did in 2013 and Mercedes did last season.
Okay, I hate to say this, but I'm done with all this Mercedes, anti-Mercedes propaganda. Like, as Max Verstappen said, I think this was like a few days ago, he was saying that Mercedes is just saying this to, it's like mind games. That's really like what it is. Like we have the Mercedes guy Andrew saying that they're not good at pit stops. It's like, okay, it's just little things like that. And then we have Bottas saying doesn't expect one team to dominate all the races.
Also,
Mercedes is still there. Like, as you can see from like their Netflix, like on the F1 Netflix show, they're always pushing. Like, obviously every team is always pushing, but like just being like ahead gives you more breathing room and being able to be more prepared.
You're gonna like this.
What works.
This is our next story. Toto Wolff says Mercedes, they're still lacking the car and the engine to match Red Bull in qualifying.
Yeah, no, I'm done with this propaganda. Like, I really am. Like, yes, Red Bull was faster in these two first races, but that doesn't mean Mercedes is not going to come back hard. Like, they know, like, Mercedes just wants to be known as an unbeatable team.
Hamilton still got pole. Even if it was by like 3/100ths, he still got the pole position. It's not like he didn't get the pole position at all.
Yeah.
It's just so funny. I love how you're calling it like the propaganda.
It is.
I think that's amazing. All right, so we have next Otmar Snafnauer, team principal of Aston Martin, saying Sebastian Vettel is working tirelessly to turn things around after a tough start to his Aston Martin career.
I bet he is.
I bet he fucking is.
Like we talked about last time, people are looking at Sebastian starts, great, because we talked about this before, but he didn't. So, yeah, I think he is working tirelessly. Like, I'm not surprised hearing that.
Do you know why I think he's working tirelessly? 2 words.
Why?
No. 2 words. Nico Hulkenberg. I think if he doesn't get his shit together, I think Lawrence Stroll might be considering Nico Hulkenberg as the ultimate super sub.
Yes, that's what my dad is predicting. That is one of his bold predictions for the season.
Oh, really?
But yeah, who knows how good Nico Hulkenberg is, because recently I was looking at the past seasons and he still doesn't have a podium in F1.
I know he's got a Le Mans win. He's got more than one Le Mans win, but he can't seem to translate that over to F1. I mean, last
strange
year,
because he's been in pole position.
pole. He was on
podium
pole
position cars.
He was on pole in the Williams car in Brazil, and that didn't work. He was crashed out of a podium position by Hamilton in Brazil again, and Germany 2019 he was in second place. He crashed out of the race. With as crazy as that race was, I mean, the Toro Rosso got the podium. I think Nico Hulkenberg easily could have. And but also, if you think about his recent performances, last race in a car he wasn't familiar with, he got third place in qualifying around Silverstone. So he's still fast.
Yeah.
He has still got some speed in him. So,
but it's the risk. Like, is Aston Martin gonna get Nico Hulkenberg, and then it's like, oh, it's the same thing, and not allow Vettel to have time to improve.
That is a humongous dilemma. I still think
And,
Nico Hulkenberg
'cause
has an outside shot, but we won't know until it might happen.
I don't know what the rules are, but like I've always thought about like what if like teams could swap out drivers like every other race,
I think you technically could.
Except the drivers wouldn't like that because then they wouldn't be receiving too many points.
Yeah, that would be stupid for the drivers' championship side of things, but I don't think there's a rule against that in any sort of way. So, but realistically, that's not going to happen. But something that is realistic is that Sebastian Vettel is sweating a little bit, thinking about, oh shit, Nico Hulkenberg is right here, and he's still fast, and he might be able to, beat me to the seat eventually.
Yeah, and another reason that they got Vettel was for, promotional reasons and to get sponsors.
True, yeah, it's very true. Checo was such a cash cow to Racing Point. He has all these Mexican sponsors like Telmex. Other sponsors I can't even think of because I don't research.
Yeah,
but still, yeah.
Replacing Vettel with another, German driver, Hulkenberg.
We'll see how that turns out. I'm not sure.
Mm-hmm.
And going to our next story, 3-year Japanese Grand Prix extension at Suzuka. We are racing in Japan until 2024, at least.
Suzuka's a cool track.
Suzuka, difficult as all hell on the F1 game. I still can't do a good lap around Suzuka.
Really?
No,
maybe we should go on it.
I'm trash at Suzuka. I should do some time trials. That's how bad I am.
I know my dad personally likes Suzuka because I think it was 2019. Yeah, there was a good race between Vettel and Hamilton, and Hamilton's never able to pass Vettel after so many laps, and it was a good race.
Yeah, I mean Suzuka's just an awesome track. Atmosphere is killer. I mean, you have the Honda engines for now, at least in F1, so Hondas are going to be a big presence, and then you have Yuki Tsunoda, Japanese F1 driver, who
finally
turns out he's pretty quick in a Formula 1 car. He could be I don't know where I'm going with this, but basically I'm trying to say
he's good for the crowds.
He's going to be good. He's going to be good for the crowd.
So Yuki Tsunoda can have a nice home race.
I think not just for Japan. I think for Asia as a whole. I mean, we don't have many Asian races anymore. We still have Singapore. I don't know if Abu Dhabi's technically in Asia. I think
Middle East.
Maybe. Middle East is Asia, I think. So Bahrain, Abu Dhabi, all those races. We're going to get Saudi
Vietnam
Arabia
on this calendar.
No, Vietnam is not happening ever.
Oh, did they never build that? Okay.
They never did anything to it.
At least we have it in an F1 game.
It's just in the game. It's not in reality, which is pretty funny, to be honest. They could never work that out.
Probably for the better if you saw where they were building it.
I mean, yeah. I mean, I personally like driving the track on F1 2020. I thought it was
all right.
I thought it was a cool challenge, especially Sector 3. Oh my god. Once you get on worn tires, Sector 3 is a challenge. And I mean, that race with the DRS would have been insane to see in real life. But anyway, let's talk about Asian F1. Let's as a whole. We used to have a lot more races in Asia. We used to go to South Korea. We used to go to India, Turkey. All these places we don't go to anymore. Yeah, it's Istanbul.
Okay, yeah.
Right? I think so.
Wait, are you sure? Excuse my geography, because I am American. Where's Turkey? Okay, that's it's by Iraq and Syria and Bulgaria. So
that's Asia, basically.
Okay. It's Middle Eastern territory.
I need to take a geography class, it turns out. But yeah, I mean, extending this race for 3 years could see some long-term positive benefit for F1 in Asia, which is always going to be good. And our next story, Red Bull lures experienced engineer away from Mercedes to help work on Red Bull powertrains in 2022.
He probably wants more of a challenge or something.
I think this, honestly, while it may be good for somebody from Mercedes to tell Red Bull exactly, like, okay, this is how they're building their engine, this is how they're getting their power, all that, this, I think, is more of a mind game and like a politics sort of thing than anything, because Mercedes, do they still have the fastest engine now, or does Honda have it now? I think technically Honda might.
Well,
now.
What are there any other cars that have the Honda engine? Like, it's the AlphaTauri that have them too, right?
AlphaTauri and Red Bull, that's it.
Okay, so it's just hard to tell because, Williams is towards the bottom, but they have a Mercedes engine. We have McLaren that's more towards the top, and they have a Mercedes engine, and then you have Mercedes.
And then
battling for the top.
Aston Martin right in the midfield.
Oh, and
they're kind of spread out everywhere.
Yeah.
So, I mean,
I think the AlphaTauri is doing good in qualifying. Like we saw Gasly up there in the top 5 in both of these qualifying.
Gasly's ridiculously fast in that AlphaTauri.
Yeah, out of the 2 cars that there are, or 2 teams, it looks like the Honda's pretty good.
I think this
small sample
size. Move, I think, is Christian Horner just trying to get into Toto Wolff's head just a little bit. I don't really think it's going to affect much. Honestly, it's just one engineer. But just the fact that it's a Mercedes engineer going to Red Bull powertrains is why I think that Christian Horner wanted to do this, and that this engineer might be a valuable asset to them in the future. And our last piece of Formula One news this week in the paddock. Formula 2 vice champion Callum Ilott is to drive for Alfa Romeo Racing this FP1 session after joining the team as its second reserve driver alongside Robert Kubica. I mean, this is great news for Callum. He totally deserves an F1 seat by now. So fast, so smart. He's such a good racer. He's very clean. I mean, he gets the job done on tracks. No matter what type of car he's driving, he is very fast.
I mean, that's good to hear. I don't really watch F2. Sometimes I'll watch the highlights because I'm just curious. But yeah, it would be cool seeing another rookie driver in the practices and seeing how they do.
That's true. I mean, it's always good to see the up-and-coming young drivers get their proper shot at F1, get some laps on the board, see how they're functioning within the teams as a whole, and hopefully they're on the grid one day. It's amazing to me that 2 drivers aren't in F1 right now, Callum Ilott and Nick DeVries, just with how talented they are.
Oh, yeah, Nick DeVries especially, because didn't he win the Formula 2 championship?
No, he won one of the last Formula E races, which we'll talk about in a few minutes' time.
Do you know where he finished in F2 though? And
I don't know.
2 years ago.
I don't know. I think this is his second season. His first season was last. I mean, he won the Formula 2 championship in 2019.
Yeah. And that's what I'm talking about.
Yeah, he won that championship. Callum Ilott last season, second place in the Formula 2 championship, behind only Mick Schumacher, who currently is an F1 driver. But yeah, I mean, I'm very, very excited for Callum to get his proper shot into Formula 1 this weekend. It's going to be great. And now we are going over to something very, very exciting. It's our Portuguese Grand Prix preview. This is going to be, I think, a great race. Last year at Portimao, we saw on lap 1. Carlos Sainz starting 7th place. Lead the race for like 6 laps. Crazy overtakes, collisions. It was just unbelievable race. I'm super, super excited that we're back here. Such a great track to have in Formula One. But yeah, what are you thinking about this next race, bro?
Okay, so I'm looking at the track right now. Pretty long straight, a few slow corners, a few medium speed corners. Now, I just gotta remember how it finished last year. But I guess just looking at the pace, obviously it's gonna be Mercedes, Red Bull battle. McLaren will be up there, and we'll see if Gasly can jump up there again, like the last 2 times.
Mm-hmm. That would be awesome to see. And what are you thinking about Aston Martin and Alpine? Where do you think they're gonna be?
Ooh.
They've really surprised me this year of how slow they are, honestly. The fact that Ferrari and AlphaTauri were pretty much just easily able to eclipse them was kind of strange.
Yeah. So last year, I'm just going to pull up the qualifying. Last year we had, the 2 Mercedes at the top, Verstappen, Leclerc, Perez, Albon, Sainz, Norris, Gasly, and then Ricciardo to finish off the top 10.
So that seems pretty standard from last year, yeah.
Yeah, it looks like here it was really close between Hamilton, Bottas, Verstappen within 0.3 seconds. Then Leclerc, another 0.1 behind. So maybe Ferrari could do pretty good. Like maybe they have the aerodynamics down.
Yeah, that's true.
And I forget if they're like a low or high rake car.
I think they're higher. They're higher rake. I'm pretty sure.
Yeah. So. Wait, which one is Red Bull again? Which cars do better? Is it low rake?
High rake cars do better. Red Bull, McLaren, Ferrari are pretty much all high rake. I think AlphaTauri is as well, and teams like Mercedes, Aston Martin. I think maybe Alpine, and a couple other teams. I don't know. Maybe a couple other teams are low rake.
Okay, so I think it looks like Ferrari could have the aerodynamics down. And Red Bull especially. So I think we're going to see another Red Bull pole.
Okay. Yeah, I agree with that.
I'm pretty confident with that one. I think Ferrari, Leclerc is really going to push up there. And then Sainz and Norris got 7th and 8th last year.
Okay.
So I think they'll be nudging the Ferrari. So I think it'll be Mercedes, Red Bull. I know it'll be Red Bull, Mercedes, like fighting. But I think Red Bull's going to get it. And then it's going to be really close between the McLarens and Ferraris. The McLarens might have a little bit more power, but I feel like Ferrari might have the aerodynamics down.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah,
it's gonna be a good battle. I mean, we saw Norris, Sainz, Leclerc all fighting last race. I think it's gonna be more the same here at Portugal.
Definitely. And then Vettel qualified 15th last year.
Oh, God.
I feel like it's going to be similar. I hate to say it. It's going to be similar.
I do too. I hate to hear it, honestly. I mean, Jesus. Vettel needs to pull something out of his hat. I mean, this is the time to turn up the jets, Vettel. This is the race. I think this is the race. If he can score points this race, I think he can call himself happy. Mm-hmm. But the main battle this race is going to be Lewis Hamilton versus Max Verstappen, our 2 heavyweight title fighters this season so far. Lewis is at 44 points. Verstappen's at 43. They both have a pole and they both have a win. This is anybody's race.
And I hope Perez is right there behind in 3rd place, possibly helping out, for the overall Red Bull strategy.
That's good. Yeah,
And
that's
then,
true. That's
like
true.
we said, we'll probably see Leclerc versus the two McLarens, and maybe if Gasly's car is good like the last two times, he'll be thrown in there as well.
That is true. Perez, he just needs to worry about beating Valtteri Bottas. If he's able to do that this race, I think we're gonna. And if Max Verstappen can, seal the deal with the victory, they're gonna be great in the championship. I think I saw Sergio Perez say something that they are aiming for a Red Bull 1-2 in qualifying in the race. Come this weekend, and if they manage to do that, that will definitely put them ahead in the championship. And it'd be great to see that, a flip-flop battle between Mercedes and Red Bull the entire season long would be something that us as Formula One fans haven't seen in so long. It's going to be great to see. Yeah, so the Portuguese Grand Prix preview, I think my prediction, Verstappen win, Verstappen pole. And for the podium, I think it's going to be Verstappen, Hamilton, Perez. With a McLaren behind them.
Mm-hmm.
Bottas, he got P8 last race? P9?
Yeah, he wasn't
P8?
doing too well.
We saw, I don't know what the weather forecast looks like in Portugal, but we did see last year it was raining during the race, and that really screwed Valtteri's chance at a win. I think Hamilton won that race by like 30 seconds or something insane.
Yeah, he won it by 25. Then followed by Verstappen with another 9 seconds, and then it was Leclerc. Perez got 7th. I think it was the rain. Wait, was this a rainy race last time?
Pretty much. At the beginning, It definitely was.
So yeah,
I think Perez got spun at the beginning of this race, if I kind of remember.
Well, Leclerc finished 4th, so I'm still pretty confident about my Ferrari guess. They'll be up there.
All right. I'm looking forward to this weekend. I'm pretty sure everybody is. And let's go to our final part of the podcast. It's going to be other motorsport news outside of Formula One. But first, I think we need to talk about this Miami track layout. You have a lot of information about this that you wanted to share. Let's hear it. Okay,
so I was watching the track, and I'm looking at this from a perspective of how I race in F1, which is just F1 online. And if drivers are really bold, which they more are when they're racing online. So if I can just pull up the track right here. So I think this Miami track, there's some parts which are just impossible to overtake, which every track has that. But I think there's a good amount of overtaking opportunities.
Okay.
Like it's not going to be too awful.
Yeah.
Because some people were criticizing it, but I was like, come on, let's have a look at this.
Okay, that's a good point.
So here I'm just watching the video through, and obviously you have the straight, the DRS. So by the time they're on the straight, they're already in 7th gear, or at least in this simulated video or game. And they go up to 8th, and they go down to 2nd gear. It's kind of like an Abu Dhabi, it's kind of like a Abu Dhabi type first turn.
Okay.
And then there's a long straight, and then you can maybe pass there, and then it hits you with a couple of S's, which I don't think it'll be possible to pass here. It's kind of like the Coda track, it's you can't really pass on the S's. You're just swerving left and right.
That's true.
And then there's another straight, which there could be a DRS section here, and if you're drafting, you could possibly pass, and the cars do sweep from right to left to right on the straight, because it's not a complete straight. There's some corners, and it's followed by a tight left, less than 90 degrees, which you could maybe pass, and then there's a long right-hander, and then you kind of sweep across to the left side of the track. So some parts of this track remind me of Vietnam, if anybody ever got to play or see it in the F1 game, and some parts of the track remind me of the USA track, like the S's, and like in sector, I believe it's sector 2, like there's like a long right-hander, and then it goes into like a sharper left, and then you can dive up the inside because you really can't defend it if you want to be efficient with your lap time.
Okay.
So I think there's just some parts of the track which will be impossible to overtake, and some that aren't that difficult to overtake.
Okay, that makes sense.
Personally,
I mean, there's like a double chicane in sector 3. I think it reminds me a lot of Abu Dhabi. There's no way you can pass through there.
Yeah, there's not a chance you're
walls
passing there.
Are everywhere
if
there.
It is going to be this tight with the walls, and some parts of the track aren't going to have a lot of runoff or space to mess up.
That's true.
It's going to be like Singapore.
I saw a lot of people saying it's going to be like Singapore and like the Vietnam proposed track that we never got to see live. And I mean, hopefully with the new cars next season, tracks like this and tracks like Jeddah, you know how crazy that track is, right?
Yeah.
It's like 27 corners, like crazy fast speeds. The average lap speed for Miami, I think, is still going to be pretty fast. So, I mean...
It's going to be like a 135, I believe.
That's
around 130.
Yeah, I mean...
a long lap time.
I hope, you know, with these new cars, they just race really, really phenomenally with these tracks. And, I mean, they're not going to build these tracks if they don't think that the racing is going to be good. They don't design tracks purposefully to be trash. Like, I mean, tracks like Sochi, I mean, they do. I mean, a lot of people are saying, like, you know, Herman Tilke, all those jokes and memes about Herman Tilke. I mean, he still made some great tracks. Like, Circuit of the Americas and Sepang in Malaysia are two of his best tracks by far. He tries when he makes racetracks. He uses the available land. I mean, it's hard to build a racetrack around a Miami Dolphins football stadium and like like Miami Open tennis courts and just like a bunch of stuff in the way. And I think he did a really good job of, you know, building a track that still could have good, fun, enjoyable racing, you know, within the confines of the space he was given.
The confines of a parking lot.
Yeah, I mean, he built
this isn't your Las Vegas parking lot race. This is like an actual good track, which could be some good racing.
The Caesars Palace Grand Prix in the 80s. It was. I think the track looked like the letter E, like a capital E.
It was. I saw the layout. I was like, was this for real? And then I saw like a highlights of a race there. I was like, oh.
God, it must have been a bore fest, dude. Must have been insane. All right, well, moving on from Miami, hopefully it's going to be a good one, to other motorsports. We're going to talk about Formula E, the race in Valencia, round 5 of the season.
And round 6.
Yeah, round 5 and round 6,
back.
But we're going to be focusing on round 5. So, for context, this was the very, very first Formula E race ever hosted on a permanent circuit, like a full circuit. I mean, they raced at the Mexican track, but they used their own sort of custom, you know, variation of it. This is the first time they raced around a full permanent track.
I actually watched this race. It was pretty fun to watch because like the drivers, you know, had space to overtake because it wasn't like every lane was only 2 car widths.
It was great to see. But
cars could actually go 4 wide into some places.
I mean, the main talking point, though, was the ending of the race. What the hell?
I was watching that live, and the commentators are like, oh, there seems to be a miscalculation. Except Mercedes, of course. Except Mercedes,
obviously, because they.
Except for a few teams. But there was one more lap, and I'm not sure what happened, because the way that Formula E races work is that you have 45 minutes plus one lap, and it looks like these teams only counted 45 minutes. Like, they forgot the one lap. So when they crossed the line for the last lap, most cars were going onto zero energy.
Yes.
But it appeared that the batteries have more energy, like, obviously, so they can, get to the pits after the race. But you're disqualified if you finish the race with zero energy,
Well,
so most of the cars were disqualified.
Only 9 drivers finished the race. There wasn't even a 10th driver to get the last point, which is ridiculous.
Right. And I was cheering on for Nissan because I drive a Nissan and I like Nissans. And I think he would have gotten podium, but he got disqualified because he finished with zero energy.
That's ridiculous. A lot of people on Twitter were having let's say a friendly debate about why Formula E is trash. And
oh yeah, I saw that.
There's so
it's
much
only been
hate.
Around for what, 6
This is the
years?
sixth season, I think, of Formula E. I mean,
yeah,
F1 in the 50s was not perfect. In F1's 6th season, 1955, it wasn't a perfect championship. I mean, they didn't even have the Constructors' Championship until like 1959. They didn't even know what they were doing. They just had fast cars that broke down every race.
Yeah.
I mean, reliability wasn't even a thing back then. They would just hope their car doesn't explode halfway through the race. I mean, it takes more than 6 seasons to create a championship that is sustainable. And I think Formula E have done a fantastic job so far. I mean,
and all the teams are working on such a low budget. I think I was reading that Jaguar was trying to get their budget under 10 million, which is
ridiculous.
Of the more expensive budgets compared to the other teams.
Formula One teams spend 14 times that, and that was and that's still a capped budget. That is a capped budget, and they're still spending 14 times that.
Before they were spending 400 million.
I'm not even going to try to do the math there, but but I mean, props to Formula E. I mean, they're spreading a good message. Sustainable energy, battery power, all that good stuff. And I mean, the races are exciting. It's unique in its own way, and I really love that about Formula E. And we're going to head over to another racing category that's fairly new. It's only in its 9th season, the World Endurance Championship. First race of the season is about to start, the 6 hours of Spa, and they're introducing their brand new Le Mans Hypercar class. I know you watch a little bit of WEC sometimes. You want to give some thoughts about that, Guillermo?
I'm really excited because the one thing I love about, the WEC is that you're actually watching supercars race, in F1 you're watching a race car race.
Your prototype cars, yeah.
Yeah, but in WEC you're seeing, actual Ferraris
actual
racing,
Porsches and all that.
Yeah, Porsches, and there's other categories that have, like the 4GTs and the C8s and the BMWs and the Mercedes, the Aston Martins and the McLarens. And it's actually cool seeing the supercars that are on the road race. That's why I'm so excited for the hypercar class, because when are you ever going to see I wish we got to see like a P1, a 918, like a LaFerrari, like actually race on track, like race car variants and actually race.
That's gonna be insane.
But there's really no class for that. But that's cool that they're making a hypercar class, and hopefully, Ferrari are actually in it, Porsche, maybe McLaren, and who knows, maybe like Bugatti should throw in their car in there.
The way WEC works is it's kind of strange because there's not many teams in this Le Mans hypercar class now, but I think by the 2023 season there's going to be at least 5 or 6 teams, including like Ferrari.
Okay, that's cool.
Ferrari,
I saw
Toyota,
that Ferrari
and all
was
that.
gonna join, and then they didn't. And I think I saw Aston Martin had a car, which is gonna be like the Valkyrie.
The Valkyrie, yeah.
but then I'm not sure if they're still in it or not. So
I mean, I think I saw Ferrari isn't going to join until 2023, and I'm not sure about the Aston Martin Valkyrie. So,
I just hope we get to see some cool hypercars race
it's going to be
that are
so fun.
based off of, somewhat of a road variant. Look like they're road variant.
Yeah, it's going to be so fun to see all this stuff. I mean, I'm trying to get into some more WEC myself. I've been watching some of the highlights. I mean, they post their full races on YouTube, which is awesome. I mean, so does Formula E. Props to them. No F1 TV $70 membership per year. I mean, you just go on YouTube and it's right there every single race from like the last season. It's so awesome that they're doing that. I mean, it really gets some new fans into the sports, which is what we all want to see.
Yes.
And next, we have a motorsport that has been around forever, IndyCar. We're gonna go over some quick IndyCar standings, because why not? We're gonna talk about a few drivers that are notable that hopefully you know most of them, if not some of them. So Alex Palou leads the championship, followed by Will Power and Scott Dixon. And if anybody knows anything about IndyCar, Scott Dixon is like the Lewis Hamilton of IndyCar. Scott Dixon's got like 7 championships. He's ridiculously good. And some other drivers that we'll talk about. Our main man, Marcus Ericsson. He's P9 in the championship. Pato O'Ward, who tested an F1 car a couple years ago, P11. 2020 IndyCar Indy 500 winner, Takuma Sato, is P12. Our main man, Roman Grosjean's 14th in the championship. 2 solid opening races for him. Alexander Rossi, P16, and NASCAR legend Jimmy Johnson he's been struggling in IndyCar. He's towards the back in P23 in the standings.
Yeah. I don't know much about IndyCar, but I watched the previous highlights because, the race was in Florida, and I was like,
both of these races have been in Florida, which is cool.
Oh, were they?
Oh, okay. Wait, no, the first one was in Alabama, I think, the first race, and the last one was in St. Petersburg.
Yes, St. Petersburg, Florida. And it was an enjoyable race. I was watching, Grosjean, see where he was. So I was watching Ericsson, and there was some tight racing towards the top.
Yeah, cool thing about IndyCar being a spec series is there's always that battle for the win. You never know who's going to get the pole, who's going to get the win, who's going to be on the podium. It's always kind of like a mixed bag when it comes to that sort of stuff, which is really cool to see. I mean, I should probably start watching some more IndyCar, being from the States. I don't know if you plan on that.
Actually, that reminds me, I forgot what F1 driver, I think it was an ex-F1 driver that said this. He was saying that it's ridiculous that drivers like Mazepin can get into F1.
Oh, Mario Andretti. Mario Andretti said that.
Yeah. And then he was saying that there's all these talented IndyCar drivers, which in IndyCar are faster than Formula 2 cars.
Yes.
Because when they go in COTA, they get faster lap times. Mm-hmm. And there's these young drivers in IndyCar which have no way of really getting the super license to get into F1.
They just have to win the Indy 500 or the championship, I think is the criteria. I'm not completely sure about that, but don't quote me on anything because like I said, I don't do my research. That's just how I go.
To really get into F1, you need to win WEC. You need to be in GP2, or you need to be in one of the F2 or F3 series.
Isn't that how Brendan Hartley got in F1? Because he was in World Endurance and he did really well. And then he had a Toro Rosso drive and then did shit and then went back to WEC and then started doing great again. Something like that.
Yeah, it happens.
I mean, they're drivers like Joseph Newgarden, Alexander Rossi, drivers like them who are never really going to get a good shot at Formula One, which sucks. It's really sad to see. Hopefully they can do some sort of program where it kind of helps them get into Formula One, because I know F1 is trying to evolve more in the United States. I mean, they just added a second race here.
They need to make IndyCar an FIA sport, which I don't really know how that works. I don't do my research, but it would be cool if they did that, because then, I feel like drivers could more freely go into IndyCar and leave IndyCar because it's an FIA sport.
Okay, I can kind of see where you're coming from. I mean, FIA is more international, I think, so that would be challenging. I would think.
I think because there's definitely series are only in Europe, but they are approved by FIA.
That's true. Yeah.
So I don't really know. Maybe, like I said, I don't do my research, and the FIA is probably based in Europe.
I think they're based
probably
in France.
England.
France, I think.
Oh, France, yeah.
All I have to say is I hope Roman Grosjean wins the race. I hope Pato O'Ward wins the championship. That's not going to happen. But man can dream. Man can dream.
Yeah. I think Grosjean said he was having some fun.
Oh, dude.
He started a YouTube channel.
He's loving his life right now. Post-accident Grosjean is just loving life. Because, I mean, he probably realized...
I think it's good that he got out of F1. That's just so stressful. And being in that Haas car,
God.
I think...
Don't even get me
really
started about Haas. It's just so... They just create the most toxic, stressful work environment for their employees. And they put themselves in that position. It's not like they found themselves there.
Well, yeah, toxic and not in a bad way. Just, it's stressful.
They have camera crews on them all the time.
Oh, yeah.
They have drivers who kept colliding into each other last season. They had team bosses who were not really getting sponsors, and it was annoying the team owner. And it was just, oh, God. It was an absolute
I think it's
nightmare.
good Grosjean's in a more...
Grosjean and...
Well, not relaxed series, but, because IndyCar is still competitive, but I think he can be a little bit more relaxed.
Grosjean and Magnussen. I mean, Magnussen, he's racing in IMSA. He's doing pretty good. I mean, he's also enjoying himself, which is always good to see. He's still driving fast cars, but without the headache is always a good thing.
Yeah.
And our final point of today's episode is the historic Monaco GP.
Did you watch it?
I watched the qualifying. I didn't see the actual race, but I watched the qualifying. I think it was South African dude or some Middle Eastern guy got pole in a gold car.
Well,
and a golden car, I'm not really sure.
Because they posted the whole thing. And
I
was watching through, and I was like, oh, this is a race where Jean Alesi.
Yeah, Jean Alesi crashed.
Jean Alesi.
He crashed Nicky Lauda's Ferrari, bro. That's so sad to see.
I was trying to look at the replays, and they said the guy behind him, which I already forgot who was behind him, touched him a little, and that's why I lost control, but I couldn't really tell. It didn't look like there was contact. It was...
Yeah, it was... I saw that. It was... I was confused on what happened, because they go around the final chicane, and... I mean, Alesi's car looks fine, and then they're on the straight, and then he has no rear wing and no front wing, which doesn't make sense. But I mean, a lot of people are saying, priceless piece of history destroyed. They definitely have spare parts for that thing.
Ferrari's definitely not going to let that thing be destroyed.
No, and B, would you rather? I mean, these cars just sit in a museum for the rest of their lifespan, or would you like to see them being used the way that they were meant to be used, which is racing? I think it's great to see those things still pushing out on the track. And I mean,
when I was watching the race, I wasn't expecting them to drive the cars so hard. I was like, they're actually driving them pretty hard.
It was not
I don't really know
a procession.
How fast they're going compared to the actual lap times in real life, but they were driving fast.
They're probably way slower than modern cars by probably the 20 seconds. But if you go on Twitter, and I saw an onboard from Louis, I think Louis Delatraz was racing in it. and he had like a driver's eye cam. It was unbelievable. Just how crazy it was. Just how different the cars were back then. You know, obviously manual shift lever, how small the cars were. The tires were so small. One hand on the wheel and you're shifting. You can see the tachometer with the rev counter going up and down and up and down. Nowadays, you just had the little line going across the steering wheel. I mean, and just this noise and just probably the adrenaline rush you get from doing that is unbelievable. So awesome to see.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I think we can call this a successful episode. Anything else you want to talk about before we say goodnight to our lovely viewers, or good morning?
That appears to be all. Can't really think of anything else.
Well, I mean, thank you all so much for watching. We did great last podcast. Unfortunately, we do not have Kyle here this week with us, but be sure to watch some of our newer episodes coming out in the near future. Every Wednesday, this show gets released. We're gonna have.
I think next week we're for sure gonna have Kyle and a few others who also enjoy our passion for F1.
It'd be great to get 5 guys screaming.
Some different favorite teams.
Yes, we could just have just this war about why this team is better than the other team and why you should like this team. It'd be so fun.
Mm-hmm. And next week we'll actually have a race to talk about.
Yes, it's going to be so good. We're going to be able to look back at our predictions, Guillermo, see how we did. Get the ideas of a few of our friends.
And then there'll be a Mercedes in there, and then Ferrari, and then McLaren.
Okay, I'm thinking it's going to be Red Bull, Mercedes, McLaren, Ferrari.
Okay.
So flip-flop third and fourth.
I think it's going to be like Leclerc, the McLarens, and then Sainz.
Okay.
Right under the McLarens.
All right. I mean, thank you guys for watching. Make sure you leave a like, subscribe to the channel, share this post with anybody who loves racing, and
leave a comment.
Leave a comment.
On your opinions.
Yeah. Let us know your opinions for this next race. It's going to be a good one. Portugal, we saw last season, was awesome. Expecting more of the same.